Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is our third installment in our four-part series on how to create a 9-box matrix with Google Query. The best way for us to learn about Google's query function is to experiment directly in Google Sheets. We'll be working with the information you see on your screen during the course of this video. I would recommend pausing the video, retyping this information into your own Google spreadsheet, and once you're done, unpause the video to continue. Google's query function is a very powerful function. It combines the power of functions like count, countifs, VLOOKUPs, and even pivot tables. But as I mentioned earlier, the best way to understand Google's query function is to experiment in Google Sheets. Let's get started. As you can see on the left, we have a table of information. This is a small store inventory. You can see that we have specific items like shirts, shoes, and pants. We have different colors: black, blue, red, green, yellow, and pink. We have material that these items are made from, and we also have a price associated with each of the items. In this area, we will experiment with Google's query function. With Google's query function, we'll have a look at 5 different aspects. Number 1, how do we count items or values? How do we summarize values? How do we calculate the average of values? How do we list specific values? And then lastly, how do I create a pivot table using this function? Let's have a look at our first example. In cell I3, the cell over here, I want to count the number of items we have in our store. I'm not going to use the count function as we normally would. We're going to use the query function to actually calculate or count how many items we have in our store. The standard syntax for a query function is as follows. So press equals in the cell that you want to work with, equals Q, click on query, select your data, put a comma, quotation marks, comma, 1, and close the formula. The 1 basically tells the query function that the first row of our data contains headings. When you press enter, you should get an error message. The reason we get an error is because the formula is actually trying to pull all of this information into this column down here, but we already have information in these columns, so there technically is no space. Now let's go ahead and count the total number of values we have in column C. In order to count the values in column C, we have to do the following. Click on the cell that contains the formula, type the following, select, count, and capital C between brackets. I'm going to explain to you how the formula works in a second. The formula went and counted all of the information in column C. How the formula works, it firstly looks at our data that we selected. Secondly, it selects the value to return, in this case, count of C. So count the values in C and then return their value here at the bottom. The second item we want to count would be shirts in column C. So the formula is going to look quite similar. We type in equals, Q for query, select our data, comma, quotation marks, comma 1, brackets, in between quotation marks, we're once again going to say select, count C, because our items are in column C, but we want to specify we only want to count shirts. So we will only count where C equals shirts. Close and close. And now you'll see we don't get any results. The reason being, we spelled shirts with an S, but here shirts is spelled without the S. The moment you remove the S, press enter, and it'll tell you there are 7 shirts in total. The formula works in a similar fashion to the formula we did just before. So remember what we said, select returns a value. In this case, it returned the count of column C. It gave us all of the items. In this formula, we once again counted all of the items in column C, but only where C equals to shirts. And you will see we use single quotation marks and not double quotation marks for this one. Single quotation marks specify a value that C must be equal to in order for this count function to execute. Let's practice counting a few more values. come back to this cell, type in equals, query, select our data, comma, quotation marks 1, because our headings are in row 1. We type select count, and this time we want to count column E, always capital, and we see we once again have 16 values because column E contains 16 values. When you write your formulas, it's very important to note whenever you reference a column, the column is always capital. You can write select and count in capital as well, it doesn't make a difference, but your column reference must always be capital letters. If you use lowercase to reference a column in your formula, so let's say lower e, you should get an error message to say that no column lower e exists. If we go back and change it to uppercase, there you go, and the formula works 100%. The next item we'd like to count is shoes. Shoes are also part of column C. So once again, query, select our data, comma, quotation marks 1. Okay, then we click select, count once again in column C, where C equals shoes, and shoes is spelled with an S at the end. Shoes, it's not shoe. Just simply press enter and you should see we have 2 shoes, pairs of shoes in our store. So we can repeat this formula for, let's say for instance, for pants. So equals query, oops, just have to click in the cell I guess, query, select our data, comma, quotation marks, comma 1, close the brackets, then we click on select, count, once again C, where C equals, and what we want to count is, let's say, pants, and there we go, 7 pairs of pants in our store. We've now covered single counts, so we count for single items. But how do we count if we have 2 variables? So instead of having shirts or shoes, we have red pants. How will we count if we have 2 variables in the query function? It's very important to understand the double count. In video 4, when we look at the creation of our 9-box matrix, you will see we have a performance and a potential score. They will become our coordinates that we use to populate our 9-box matrix. So the double count function is very important to understand. With Google's query function, it's actually quite simple. We go into the red pants column, once again equals query, select our data, comma. Okay, we're going to select, because we want to return a specific value. We're going to count, once again, we're going to count the red pants, so we can use either C or D, but we're going to use C at this stage. Count C, where C equals pants, because we're counting for pants. And then we're going to type and, because we want 2 variables. So where C equals pants, oops, spelling mistake, C equals pants, and D, which is our color, equals red. Press enter, and it gives us 2 sets of red pants. If you look here, you'll see 2 sets of red pants. Let's see if we can do the same for blue shirts. So equals query, select our data, whoops, all of it, come on, there we go, select count of C, where, and we're looking for shirts, so where our C column equals shirt, there's no S, and our D column, which is color, equals blue. Press enter, and we should have blue, 2 blue shirts. So let's quickly have a look. There's a blue shirt, and there's a blue shirt, and further we have no blue shirts. we're going to do one last count. In this one, I want to actually combine 3 counts in one. So what I want to count for is, let's say, green nylon shirts. So once again, we're going to use the select function, the query function, I'm sorry. Select our data. There we go. Okay, type in select. Then we want to count once again column C, where first of all C equals to shirts, and color is in column D, so where color equals, did we say green? I think we said green. Green, yes. And the material is in column E, so where E equals nylon. And if we press enter, we should see 2 green nylon shirts. So let's look for green nylon shirt. We have one over there and a green nylon shirt, and if we look further, we don't see any further green nylon shirts. You can pretty much stack up as many ands as you want. The formula also makes provision for or, but I prefer to use and in most cases. Okay, I hope you're comfortable with the count function. The one thing I do want to mention, as you'll see, it puts the value that we want in the cell below the cell we want it to be actually in. In order to fix this, if you click on the formula, just before our last quotation mark, put a space, type the word label, and we want to label count E, because that's the value that's actually being returned. So we say label, we type count E, and we want to give it no label. So we just put a single quotation, and as you press enter, you see the 16 pops in here. What this formula does when you add the label component, it takes away the label that comes with the actual value. I want to go ahead and do the same for all of the others. So here we count C. So once again, we're going to put label count of C, and I want to give it no, I want to give it no label. Same over here. Label. Oops, it's outside the quotation marks. Label count C as nothing, and we can do the same with the last one. Label once again count of C, because we're counting C, and I want nothing. There you go. The nice thing about the label function is we can actually specify the label that we want. So if we take out this component here, let's quickly delete this. It says count of item. I don't want to see count of item. I want to see something else. So I want to see, let's say, count of pants. And I've just changed the label to count of pants. Here I can change it to count of shoes. And it changes. Or I can just simply say shoes. The label function gives you some flexibility in defining your own headings if you don't want to use ones that are pre-populated. Okay, so let's move on to the sum portion of the query function. So once again, we click where we want the value to be, equals query, select our data range, comma, select, because we want to return a value. Instead of count, we're going to use sum. And once again, we don't want a label, label of sum f. We want no label, comma 1. And as you will see, it gives us a value of 3,193. And if we select all of the values, it is 3,193. Okay, so now I want to see what the total price will be only for pants, not for all of our items. Click on that cell, we simply say query. Select our data range, comma 1. Okay, we type in select, and the sum of f, because f contains our price values, and we only want to count f where the items column equals to pants. C equals to pants. So the total price for all pants comes to 1,273. And I think if we just do a quick one without using filter, let's quickly have a look. Pants, 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 and pants gives us 1273, and that gives us 1273. And if we do a last one, so let's count for red pants, the total price. So once again, query, data range. Okay, select sum of f where C, which is our item column, equals to pants, and where's the color is in column D, equals to red. You will note when we do a formula and something is wrong, there will be this little red line below your formula. Once it goes away, then you know your formula is working correctly. So if we press enter, total price for red pants is 309. So let's do a quick search quickly. Red pants, there we go, 309, and there are no further red pants, and our formula works correctly. Okay, the last calculation we'll work with is average. So click on the cell, query as always. Okay, then select our data range. And select, because we want to return a value. The abbreviation for average is AVG of column F. So the average price of all of our items is 199,562.5. If we select our values and we see average 19956, so it's exactly the same value and our average formula works. You can go ahead and practice with the average formula the same as we did for all of the others, but I'm going to move on to the list functionality within the Google Query function. Okay, we are done with the aggregation elements of the query function, so no more count, sum, and average. Now we want to list exact items instead of a formulated or calculated answer. So if we go over to this cell, type in query, select our data range, comma. So I want to see all the unique IDs where there are shirts listed in column C. So I want to see the actual value of column B, no sum, no average, no count, the actual value of column B, where column C equals shirts. Press enter. So all of these unique IDs belong to a shirt. Shirt at 101, shirt at 103, shirt at 1006, and so forth. Okay, the next item I want to list is the unique IDs for pants. Query, select our data. Okay, then I want to select the column that contains the IDs, which is column B, where column C, our items column, equals pants. And enter, there we go. So it's 1004 pants, 1005, 1007, and so forth. Okay, now I want to search for two specific variables, which is green shirts. I want the unique ID if we have any green shirts. Once again, we type equal, query, select our data, comma, select, and I want the values in column B, where my items column in column C equals shirts, and column D, which is our color column, equals green. Press enter. So 1006 is a green shirt and 1008 is a green shirt. Okay, now I have three variables. So query, select the data range, Okay, select the values from column B, where C, our items column, equals shirts, and we want to see green, which is our color, equals green, and the materials column is column E, equals nylon. Okay, we have a small error because we forgot to put one of our commas over here, and there we go. So once again, 1006 is a green nylon shirt and 1008 is a green nylon shirt. Now I want to list all of the unique IDs of the items that cost more than 200. So we start with query, data range, select all of the unique IDs from B, where, and that is column F is our price, is bigger than 200. And you'll see we get no answer, yet we have values above 200. The reason being 200 is a numerical value. We don't need these inverted commas at the top, we can take them out. And once that's done, we will see it's listed all of the unique IDs of items that cost more than 200. 1002, 1003, and so forth. Okay, so we can do the same for all items less than 200. So click on the cell, query function, select our data range. Okay, then we want to select all of the values in column B, where F is smaller than 200. So 101, 1004, and so forth. So you will see these values are all less than 200, whereas the values in this column are all bigger than 200. Okay, in our next example, I want to list multiple items. In the examples before, we've only listed single items and combined items, but only got a single value back. For this example, I want to get multiple values from one query. I want to see the unique ID, the item, the color, and the material of any item that's above 200. In order to do this, I type once again the query function. We select our data range. And now I want to select column B. I want the ID. I also want column C, so I put a comma between them. I also want the color in column D, and I want the material in column E, where column F is over 200, and I press enter. Immediately it gives me the unique ID for all of the items that cost more than 200. If I want to make sure it's over 200, I can also include column F, and it should show all of the items that are above 200. In the previous examples, we've only asked the formula to return a single value. Now we've asked the formula, please return multiple values where this condition is true. The nice thing about the query function is I can swap things around quickly. So let's say I want D before C. I can simply put D and then C, and it'll swap the information around. Same with E and F. I want F and then E. Quickly swap it around. If I want to quickly select any values below 200, and that is how quickly you can use the query function to look through your data. Our second to last item is to remove the labels. So you can go up here, after 200 type in label. Oops, that was a spelling mistake. Label, so first label is going to be label B, I want nothing. Label C, I want nothing. D and E, and I think we've included F as well, nothing. If you press enter, you'll see we've actually removed all of the labels. Our very last item is to quickly look at the pivot table functionality of Google Query. So we're going to type query once again, query, select our data range. I want to select a counted value in column B. So I want to count by this column in column B, where our item column equals shirts. So that's going to be equals shirts. And I want to list or pivot these values against color, which is in column D. That's why I add the pivot D. As you can see, all of our shirts are listed. So it's one black shirt, one blue shirt, two blue shirts, two green, one red, and one yellow. And if I want to amend my pivot table, simply click on pivot, change D to E, and this basically tells me that I've got 3 nylon shirts and I've got 4 wool shirts. This brings us to the end of our third video in this 4-part series on Google Query. I will be putting a link in the description if you want to read up about Google Query. We've honestly just scratched the surface. We will go into more detail in our last video. I honestly hope you guys enjoyed this video and you learned something new.